afterwards. All right. You ready? You ready over here, Lisa? All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The date is April 22nd. The time is now 6:01 p.m. and the city of Williston City Council has come to order. Miss Laura, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Charles Goodman.
I am here.
Council President Michael Cox.
Hello.
Vice President Darphinus Hines.
Here.
Council Member Deborah Jones.
Here.
Council Member Meredith Martin. Here. Council Member Alexa Hannah Riccio.
Here.
City Manager Sue Badette. She is online. Attorney Kirsten Ballou.
Here.
City Clerk Latricia Wright. She is online. And all other staff.
All right. Welcome, everybody. All right. Open in prayer and pledge of allegiance to the flag. Mr. Mayor Charles Goodman.
Join me if you choose to. Is this thing actually on? I don't hear it. IT? Keep talking. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Aaron, IT, Aaron. There you go. Aaron? Now we're here. I just love calling his name. Join me if you will. Lord, I just ask you to be with us today as we go through the business of this city. Lord, I ask you to be with the council as each of them weighs the pros and the cons of each issue. Help them to make the best decisions that they can for our city. And Lord, I ask you to be with the people here who have come here to do business, and I ask you to give them the wisdom and the patience that they need to deal with it. And Lord, I just ask you to please be with my fire department and my police department. They are constantly out there when the rest of us are safe at home, and they're constantly doing things that we couldn't even imagine. So I just ask you to give them peace about their jobs. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
All right. Item 1, additions, deletions, changes, and approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
Move approval of the agenda as presented.
All right.
I second.
Got a first, got a second. Any discussion? All right. Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. 5-0. Item 2, proclamation, Water Conservation Month. Mr. Mayor, we're going to bump that down, right? Or did you want to go ahead and do it?
Hi. So it was in here.
It was in there.
174-page agenda is ridiculous.
Yes, it is. I don't think any of us disagree with you.
Mr. Barber, may I see you a moment, please? I want to ask you something. Sure. I only have 2 items.
Not you this time, huh?
Mr. Barber, this is a proclamation. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida Water Management District and the city of Williston are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas the city of Williston and the state of Florida has designated April typically a dry month when water demands are most acute, Florida's Water Conservation Month. Thank you, Chip. Aaron!
Present.
to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas the city of Williston has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events, and whereas every business, industry, school, citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water, thus promote a healthy economy and community. And whereas efficient irrigation design, programming, and maintenance can conserve water, the city of Williston will encourage all citizens and businesses to evaluate their irrigation systems for potential efficiency enhancement. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Williston, I hereby do proclaim the month of April as Water Conservation Month. The city of Williston, Florida is calling upon each citizen and business to help protect our precious resources by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. For this, the 27th year of Water Conservation Month, there will be a special focus on irrigation systems. Signed under my hand and with my seal in the council chambers of City Hall on this 22nd day of April 2025, Mr. Barton. He is, for those of you that don't know, he takes care of our water. He works very hard at it. He's pretty darn good at it. No, that's the man leading the group. Thank you very much.
Item 3, public participation. This is your first opportunity to address the council. At this time, anyone in the audience can come to the podium and speak for 5 minutes on any topic other than what is on the agenda. When you come up, please state your name, your residency, if you do so, and just a reminder that the council does not have to comment on that. Okay, anybody? No? Okay. Item 4, consent agenda. These are the council minutes from April 8th, 2025. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda from April 8th, 2025.
I second.
We have a first, we got a second. Any discussion? No. All right, seeing none, we'll move to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? 5-0. Item 5, updates. Staff. Well, we'll do Sue first. City Manager Sue Badette. She is on.
Can you hear me, everybody?
Yep.
Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes, we have you. Go ahead.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so just wanted to let everybody know that over the last couple of weeks, I really focused on the airport. Back on Thursday, April 10th, Benton was kind enough to give me a lovely tour of the Williston Airport, which was wonderful. And then last week, Wednesday and Thursday, we attended the Spring 2025 Florida Aviation Professionals Academy in Fort Myers, which is where Latricia and I are again this week. And the training was great. Like I said, it was about a day and a half training. It focused on 7 different modules and definitely learned a lot about airports. Learned there was 128 commercial and general aviation airports in the state. They fall under 7 FDOT districts. We learned about Chapter 333 of the Florida statutes that addresses zoning regulations like obstructions, vertical construction, and wildlife. There are 8 steps to building a brand new airport. The last 2 that were built were in Tavares in 2017 and St. Cloud in 2022. Public use airports receive a license, whereas private use airports receive a registration. And all proposed projects have to be included in an FDOT accepted airport master plan and entered into JASIP, which stands for Joint Automated Capital Improvement Program. And the state of Florida actually gives more money to its airports than any other state in the country, which I thought was really interesting. District 1, which is not the district we're in, but there was a representative from District 1. They have 12 different counties in their district, and they have 90 different projects going on right now. And they stress that projects are selected based on priority, not on revenue base. And the last module was on grants, and they stress the importance of grant spend down, making sure that you're constantly, spending money that you've been awarded. Because if you aren't spending the funds fast enough, they could decide to reallocate the funds, which I thought was interesting. So definitely learned a lot about airports last week, and like I said, Latricia and I are in Fort Myers again this week for an insurance summit through FMIT, so I'm sure I'll have a lot to report back on insurance at the next meeting. And then lastly, I wanted to let you guys know we have recently hired Vicki Corbin as our administrative assistant. She's going to be starting on Monday, May 5th, and we hope to have a decision on the HR director position by the end of the week. We've had one candidate that had to reschedule several times, but we're hoping to have a decision by Friday. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, ma'am. We'll start over here with Miss Laura for staff. Do you have anything, ma'am?
I don't have anything. I have a lot on the agenda that we'll talk about on some updates.
Okay. Police Chief Rolls. You got anything?
Yeah. Our Dark Simulator, pistol firearm simulator that we purchased. Microphone. Sorry, Aaron. The Dark Simulator firearm system that we purchased and that Ben was so graceful to give us a location for. We're about 95% done with the completion of the room. The system is set up in operation and operating at this time, and I am going to be setting dates for the council members to come out and get a go at it. So it'll be a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy it. The team have done a really good job with the room and getting it set up, so I think it'll be something that you'll really, really enjoy, and you'll really, really see the benefit that it provides to the officers, having that training facility out there and having a chance to practice. If you watched the news lately, there was an officer that was shot in his weapon hand, strong hand, and the sheriff said that by that happening, it totally eliminated him out of the fight. Well, with this simulator, we'll be able to go in there and practice a lot of weak hand shooting. That way, if you do get hurt in your strong hand, you'll be able to shoot with your weak hand. And by doing this with the simulator, it's not costing the city or the taxpayers money by going out to the gun range, firing all these rounds off down range. So it's a really great system, and I think you'll really be proud of the purchase that we made of buying that system. So when we get it all set up, get that 5% done, we'll start setting dates for you all to come out and give it a whirl and see some of the things that the officers have to experience as far as discretionary shooting or somebody pulling a gun at you and how quick those things take place. So I think you'll really enjoy it.
Chief Rose,
Yes, sir.
if I may ask, you're not planning to put guns in the hands of this council, are you? Please say no.
It's a simulator.
It's a simulator, Mayor. The word
Okay.
is simulator.
Okay.
Yeah. Not real guns.
No.
Yeah,
Not
no.
real gun.
No. Yes, ma'am. Well, we're gonna do a press release on it through the media. Advising the community what we've done and what steps we've taken. But the system is for law enforcement. So yes, ma'am. So it'll just be for officers, yes, ma'am. But we will do a press release, letting you all know what's going on with it. The second thing I got, which is Laura's trying to push me up front, is beginning of the month, the police department took the FMITA Safety Excellence Initiative, and I'm proud to report that we passed. So by completing that task, it open us up to receive a $6,000 grant. $6,000 grant that could be used for the police department, right? For the police department. So we'll be able.
Grant, right?
It's a safety grant, yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
good idea.
So I just wanted to share that with the council. So that's
Very
all
good.
I have. Oh, one other thing. This morning I went to the county commissioner meeting. They are now moving towards having live stream city county commissioner meetings. So they're working on that now. So I just want to bring that back to you. Also, we'll be able to shortly, hopefully soon, we'll be able to watch their meetings live and see what's going on the outside of the four walls of the city of Williston, so we can all be on the same playing field. So
Okay. Thank you, sir.
That's all I got.
Congratulations.
thank you.
Mr. Lamar Stiegel. Got anything good?
No, sir, we're good right now. I believe I already announced that we received the funding for the grant reimbursement, and pretty much getting prepared for an ISO inspection on May 19th.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Benton? Nothing? You good?
I have a question for Ben.
Yes, sir.
I know you love your airport.
I do.
You've done a lot for it. You guys are not shooting rocket ships off there now, are you?
Not to my knowledge.
That must have been one heck of a plane that took off from there earlier today.
We have some big ones, yes, sir.
It was really big. At my house, which is a long distance from the airport,
Right.
I vibrated with the sound of that engine. And I said, what in the world have we? I have heard lots of planes. I've never heard a plane with an engine that loud taking off from the airport.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
I don't either. I wasn't.
No, I think I do know which one you're talking about.
It was extraordinarily loud. You know, we've had lots of planes taken off from there. And I've never been able to hear one to the point where I could feel it vibrating my skin.
We have a couple that would knock your socks off.
Okay.
The bad
Muffler, huh, Chief? Can you ticket them for that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ben.
Good luck catching up to them.
Yeah, really.
Mr. Bishop? No. Mr. Miller? No. Mr. Barber?
I just want to let the council know they're going to start seeing materials. I believe fencing was dropped off across the street at Block 12. They're going to be staging a little bit over this week, and hopefully the parking lot will be sequestered, and some major work may begin at the end of next week or the beginning of the following week. But be looking for that, and if you get questions from residents, like I believe one was given today, hey, there's some fencing over there, can we take it? No. That you can't. That's the construction company. So if you guys hear anything or get any questions, that's what's going on. We're at the groundbreaking and the actual work on Block 12, so that's exciting.
All right. Thank you. All right. Staff, anybody else?
I have a question for Donald.
Yep.
Donald, have we notified the businesses that we're getting ready to do that?
Laura and I can start working on that tomorrow. I mean, they've been made aware as the process is going on, but we'll do some door knocking tomorrow and make sure that everyone's aware of the timetable and what we'll need. Yes,
That's
ma'am.
good, because it's been a considerable time since we did the.
Yes, ma'am. It's a great idea. We'll reach
I
out
think
tomorrow.
we need to let them know where the other available parking spaces are.
We'll have some maps drawn up and pass them out.
Appreciate it.
Ms. Malou?
Thank you, Mr. President. I promised at the last meeting that I would come back with information about food trucks and short-term rentals and all of that good stuff. So I have some information for you all. The first item that I was asked to look into is food trucks specifically. Food trucks are regulated through the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulations. Regulation of food trucks is specifically preempted to the state in Florida statute 509102. So we cannot levy any additional restrictions on food trucks specifically as the city of Williston, that is for the state, is explicitly preempted in state statute. What we can do is regulate across the board for all trailer-like or mobile home-like, RV-like vehicles, storage and placement in and on private property, in the same way that we say that you can't have an RV parked out front of your house. So those regulations we can make broad as long as they apply not just to a food truck, but to all similar apparatuses and vehicles. Similarly, with the short-term rentals, we can regulate short-term rentals to the extent that we regulate residences. We can't single out short-term rentals and give them additional requirements, but across all residences, we can have certain regulations. It may be worthwhile going into your noise ordinance and taking a look at that. It looks like we haven't updated it since 2014. So maybe time to take a look at your noise ordinance and see if we can get that a little bit more in line with 2025 era issues that people are having in local governments. And that is something that I'm happy to look into. So I just wanted to report that we are working on it. I did look into it as I promised, and we will continue seeing what we can do to alleviate the issues that were brought up.
Mr. President, may I ask a question?
Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
Counselor, so what I think I just heard you say was if we try to regulate food trucks on someone's private property, then we got to get the ones over at Tractor Supply, the ones at O'Reilly that basically use it as their business place?
Not exactly. Close.
Close.
What I'm saying is we can't say food trucks, no matter where, are regulated in XYZ way. What we can say is trailers can't be parked here or here for X amount of time for X amount of days. So it has to be uniform across the apparatus and can't be specific to food trucks.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you another question. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
I love that.
Under that, then trailers that are parked in people's yards will not be allowed to be parked in people's yards. And the boat that my next door neighbor has will not be allowed to be in his backyard. And all the other people in the city that have boats in their yard will have to remove them. Is that accurate?
It depends on, no.
Okay.
It depends on what regulation we decide. So most municipalities do not restrict parking of trailers or boats or anything like that in the backyard. Most municipalities do restrict parking in the front yard for those items. So as do we. So those are the kinds of regulations that you can have.
Laura, did you say as do we? So when I am cleaning my boat and it's parked in the front yard where I can reach it with a hose, I'm being illegal?
I'm not sure that we're discussing boats. I think we're discussing RV type, trailer type vehicles. And yes, you can certainly pull your RV out to your front yard and wash it. You cannot park it permanently in your front yard.
Permanently.
Correct.
That's an important word.
It is an
But
important
you can park an RV in your driveway to visit your neighbors and your children, correct?
Yeah, just like any other vehicle.
Yeah,
if
just
it's going
like
to leave at
any
the end of the day.
sane place would have it.
Right, but so as far as people parking their RVs on their properties, they must be in their backyards.
Or on a
storage.
driveway.
No, they can't store them on the driveway.
Store.
Right.
That's different than parking.
Okay, so you can't park for a long time in your front yard.
I'm not trying to be a devil's advocate here.
It's actually a very good question because people do complain about RVs in people's front yards and they're there very temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
Is that somebody's full-time job to drive around and see if there's RVs and food trucks parked in their front yards during the day?
No.
It's not. So we just wait till we get complaints about something like that or we know it's been there for a long time.
Thank you.
I would think it would also be a good rule of thumb that they can't park on right-of-way.
Absolutely.
Which
Yep.
is-
Right.
would help a lot of the
Generally
issues that
speaking,
we're-
you can't park on public right of way.
The one in my area is road right-of-way. They're in the road right-of-way, as per your place. And the food trailer, the food truck, and all the people that are parked to go to it. Yes, ma'am. You weren't here last week. Were you here last meeting? I went on and on about it.
Yes, she did.
Yes, I did. I'd be glad to tell you I went on and on about it.
So there are some things that we can do. It just can't be specific to these kinds of, like, the items that were raised are good items. We have to legislate broadly in these areas. We cannot be as specific as people would like us to be. So.
And we can't be too restrictive, as the mayor has said.
So it is a fine line to dance, and staff and I will be dancing in.
And most of the things he's concerned about are already in the code, I would think. I mean, they're already there about where you can park your boat and your RV.
Those things are already in your code.
And where you can put a shed and where you can park a trailer and
Yeah,
leave
but
it.
we were talking about changing stuff. And when we're talking about changing stuff, I want it to be clear what you're talking about. That's what I was saying.
Well, some of the things you brought up are already in the code that you
Yes,
can't,
I'm aware of that.
Can't do.
I'm aware of that, Counselor.
All right.
Thank you.
That's all for me.
Council? Ms. Meredith?
Nope.
Ms. Deborah?
How are we doing with the RFP for the top of the hill?
We are,
I know we debated it at length.
yeah, we are working very hard on your Seacoast loan right now, and so your RFP has not been at the top of my list. And I can't promise you it will be on the next agenda, because the next agenda, I believe, will be our Seacoast.
Yeah, we definitely need that.
So after that, I will give it my
Okay.
utmost attention.
All right. Also, the issues that Mr. Oates brought up at our last meeting for Cornelius Williams Park. Were you here last time, Laura? I don't think so either. We probably need to at some time to fill you in on. He said people are charging money or wanting to charge money to park cars during different events and that sort of thing. And he was very concerned about it.
I was here for that
Didn't
meeting.
think it was something that they should be doing because it's a public park. So I just don't want that to fall through the cracks. I want somebody to follow up on that. And I know we have park regulations. They just probably need to be maybe stapled to the back of a special event application so people know what they can and can't do. He was very concerned about that and not wanting people to charge money for things that
We can provide that
they shouldn't.
clarification.
I just want to not circle around that. Also, I wanted to ask Mr. Barber if there's been any, and also Kirsten, if there's been any movement on the street lights in CLE.
Not that I'm aware of. We have the president of the HOA here tonight, and we have addressed that subject. The staff and the HOA. I think we're trying to set up a meeting with the HOA when all the officers are available, and we were going to make Kirsten aware of that and have a meeting and kind of go after that punch list. Walt's also here from Wright Pierce, and he can tell you that we have never finalized that final punch list yet for the developers agreement. So there are some steps that we still have to take, and we're not quite to that point where we could compel them because they could still say they haven't made full completion. And that's partially what we're waiting for. I know permits have been pulled, but we have Okay, so the last house was CO'd yesterday, so we're there. So we will definitely bear down on that. We're also being distracted with what was started new, and there's some things going on there that we have to take care of as well.
Well, I kind of wanted to give some consideration between yourself and Kirsten, perhaps sending a letter from the attorney to the developer stating, per the developer's agreement, you haven't completed this.
I think the punch list and the engineers would be your first appropriate step.
Yep.
And then if they don't respond positively to the engineers, then I would think that Kirsten would say it would be elevated to her level.
But that's just another thing I don't
would
want
agree
to
with
fall
that.
through the cracks.
No, ma'am, it won't, because they're going to be asking for their money back, their bond.
Yeah.
So we will not be giving that, or their letter of credit.
Until that's completed.
Correct.
Perfect. Gotten to help them a lot, but it'll get it done sooner or later, even if we have to do it ourselves with the bond. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Ms. Rico, you have anything? Ms. D. Darfin Hines.
Thank you. Chief Stegall, can you tell us what ISO is?
I'm sorry, that's the insurance adjustment for your homeowner's insurance. And if the numbers go up, the insurance goes up. Numbers go down, the insurance goes down. We are doing our best to hold the rope.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
New ladder truck ought to help.
Yes, ma'am, it should. We're hoping, but like I said, our goal is to stay at a 4. So,
Mr. Mayor, got anything?
I have nothing, thank you.
All right. Item 6, new business. Discussion with possible action. Airbnb and wedding venue on private property. Williston resident Phyllis Caldwell. Please come up to the podium.
Is the mic on? Yeah, it is.
She can do that if she wants to.
State your name and where
Just
you're
state
from.
your name.
Phyllis Caldwell. I am a resident, or I have been known in Williston for over 20 years. It's not a newcomer. Used to be here when all the fine antique stores were side by side. We had an Ivy house that was for family. We had even had a motel. We had a hospital. We had a high school, which is now all food places. What has happened, though, is that Williston has taken a change, like the whole country has taken a change. And rentals are a situation, and I had suggested that I have the house at 206 Northwest, which is an address change, please, if you haven't made the notice. 206 Northwest, 2nd Street. 1st Street. 2nd Street. 1st Street. And we have been accused of having parties, party trucks, party vendors. We have also our own little airplane drones that fly around, and we can tell you that there was a party in November called the Fall Fest. We had a party in April called the April Spring Fling. We had a food truck parked on my private property off the easement, and that was one food truck. That was in April. In February, or in November, we had a food truck parked on my property, off of private property, off of easements. So things can be escalated as they're discussed, and as groups get together and continue discussing, things blow out of proportion. The music was provided by a local radio station out of Gainesville. It was a DJ. So there was music, there was dancing, there was parties, there was fun. But it was just a gathering for the city of Williston, or the people of Williston, to enjoy a few hours, and that's all it was. A few hours. It's not like 366 days of the year. It was one day in April, one day in November. So, as far as I am concerned, when you have 3 lots in Williston, you have plenty of parking around your house. You have plenty of room to have parties inside the house. And you own the property, and you pay your taxes, like all of you probably pay taxes. Then what is the issue of having gatherings? My husband passed away, and I probably had the biggest gathering of parking because he was a very popular person. We used to be water skiers. He has people from all over the United States comes and visits. I still have people calling me on the phone. I still have them coming over to my home and visiting. We had 50 people there that day, and everybody had a good time. It was quiet. It was a celebration of life. It was quiet, but very organized. It had food catering in. We didn't have to have anybody there. We had it brought in to us. So there's certain ways of doing things that make it nice for everybody, and comfortable for everybody, and rewarding for everybody. The same as a wedding. What more festive thing would there be other than a wedding? You have birthdays. We have children's birthdays. People hollered about the kids across the street, a bounce house, making too much noise. These are children. Maybe the other people complaining didn't have children back in their day that had to have a bounce house to play with because they didn't own bounce houses. We had jump ropes. We had jacks. I'm 74 years old. I'm not a spring chicken. And I happen to know that there was a lot of different things that we played with. Pogo sticks. but there was always happy, jumping around and having a good time. So as far as I'm concerned, my property is just for a good time a couple times out of the year and is not hurting a thing. I guess that must be about all I have to say. So the floor is open to discussion, or you may add if you want. This is my daughter, Tara Caldwell.
If you want to talk.
My name's Tara Caldwell. I've also been here for over 20 years.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Where do you live?
Where do I
You
live?
don't live at that location. Where do you live?
Currently, I live at 455 Northwest 4th Street, right around the corner from there, across
Okay.
from the new development at Country Yard Side Land. I was totally wrong, but yeah.
And where does your mom live? She live in the city limits?
No, ma'am. She lives about 10 minutes outside, across
Okay.
from the old golf course ish on
Okay.
that side of it.
Wilson Highlands area.
Mhm.
All right. I was one of the people that was called, and I was actually called by 3 people at the April occasion.
Mhm.
I did go there. I did take pictures. The food truck may not have been on the right of way, but all the cars were everywhere. They're outside your fence, which is on the right of way. There was a lot of music, even at that occasion. Probably not as loud as the other one, because I think the gentleman that lives right across the street, he's the one he practically knocked my door down on a Saturday morning. 2 fists like this. Scared me to death. I didn't know what was going on. And he just told me he just asked me to go look, and that's exactly what I did. And it was mostly the cars, the noise. If it was in your neighborhood where you live, you may feel otherwise. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, so help me understand, if you have a gathering at any resident, whomever may be having anything that they're holding at any point, where would people park? On their property or on their sides of the house? If there's another option for when people come to a residence to have a gathering, what other solution is?
Except you're not a resident. You're
I-
using it to either rent out or whatever you're doing with it. You don't live there, and neither does your mom. So it's a little bit different.
Not much.
It is in a residential area, and it is your property. But that's just the way this gentleman feels about it, and I can't say that I feel a whole lot different.
So,
Mr. President, may I
Yes.
address this?
Yes, sir.
I have houses around me. My neighborhood is now filled up. They have children, teenagers, playing a band outside with drums and electric guitars and everything. They have parties in which they come over, and I bet you there'll be 20 or 30 cars there. They park wherever they can. They park on the road going around. Take a break. You don't need to control people that much. We all have to put up with our neighbors because we choose to live in a city. And I think that this is much ado about very little. I think the same scenario happens throughout the city, and I understand it can be annoying. It's annoying to me. I just go in the house and shut my doors and turn some noise on. But they have a right to live too. And they're just enjoying themselves. It's not like we're having a crab fest here. Not with people with guns. These are people living in their house, having a good time. And I think that this is overdrawn. Thank you.
and so I can also add.
Once again, they're not living in the house.
Thank you, counselor.
Don't yell at me, Mr.
Then
Chair. What in
don't
the world?
interrupt me.
You had
Okay,
quit.
all right. Let's
I
let's
didn't
calm down.
interrupt you at all.
So when people
Lord.
do rent, they come here from all over. So it brings people to Williston that they may not even have known. Williston's not on the map for most people to know. I have people coming in from all kind of different states to go. Their daughters are graduating from UF, or their sons are graduating from UF. I'm actually booked the first week of May for multiple people that are having their children graduate. And so they have family that also all gather in one spot to, celebrate their child or children graduating from UF. There's not a lot of there's a lot of places to stay in Gainesville, but some people like to get outside of Gainesville and come here. So I can't, as long as they're within the city ordinances, which is no loud music or noise after 10 o'clock, and it's not necessarily interfering with, there's nothing out of control happening. It's a controlled gathering. I can't dictate and say to them, no, you can't have anybody over to the house that you're literally renting it to have the celebration for whatever you're doing. I actually had someone reach out to me that lives in Williston and has lived here for 20 years. And it was her son's and daughter's birthday. And the son, they just had a basketball tournament. And they wanted to rent the house that's over there that has the pool. So that way some of the basketball people could come out to it. And also they could have the kids had their friends and their daughter. Their place wasn't big enough to host a gathering for 2 kids' birthdays and extra, family and parents and whatnot to come out to. It didn't work out because they only wanted to book one night, and I had already had it booked before I could work anything out. But that's besides the point. Just saying, people that rent have a reason why they're coming. They're not just necessarily coming just to hang out inside a house. They're coming to experience what Williston has. And they usually come in groups, whether it be the Springs, whether it be WEC. A lot of people come from everywhere to go to WEC and go to HITS. We're only 20 minutes away from there. So a lot of equestrian, and they bring a lot of money into Ocala, Williston, and all the surrounding areas. And I couldn't say, oh, well, no, you're not allowed, or you can't, because that's the whole point of getting people to come when there's no place to stay here. That helps bring in extra everything for the city and more knowledge about everything that's around here to do.
Ms. Jones, is there any issues with what they're doing, being in a residential and renting and?
So it's not commercial. So it's not technically like an event venue like Homestead Park would be. Can they have parties? Yes. They still have to stay within their noise ordinances. There's nothing against the law about parking on the right-of-way, Chief, as long as you don't block traffic or block sidewalks or, as Kirsten pointed out, emergency vehicles. So having a heavily attended party at somebody's house, and they do own this house, so this is their property. When it gets sticky is if somebody is like giving out flyers and saying party at this place, $5 to get in, then we're talking about an event more so than a party. It's hard to regulate Airbnbs. It's hard to regulate what people do there. I think we should stick to what we can regulate, which we've talked about as noise, traffic, nuisance, and those types of things that we already have in our code.
Okay. I have a question. So when they have events at Heritage Park, are you guys scheduling anything there to draw people down?
No, sir, we've never done anything like
Okay.
that. I mean, so it just happened to be that it was the same day as the Bacon Festival, but honestly, we didn't even know it was the same day as the Bacon Festival the last time we had the gathering there. And it was just an Easter gathering. We had a tent set out back for kids could come out and paint little wood things, and we had food, like fruit plates and stuff for people to come over and get if they wanted, and then the food truck was out front. We never charged the food trucks to park there. Food trucks are all licensed by the state. They have to be in order to operate out of their truck. So they're already certified and cleared through their ordinances that they have to follow. And like I said, we don't charge them to come there. We ask them if they would like to. And if they say yes, they come. If not, and there's only ever been one. There's never been multiples everywhere. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the easements are 10 feet from the road on either side of the road.
In that neighborhood, yes, it's a 30-foot easement altogether, right? Yeah. So from the very middle of the road.
So we were actually more so on, but we make sure we're at least 10 foot off of each side to abide by the easements for the food trucks when they do park. So we make sure that they're on our property whenever they're there.
And you're actually putting up signs around town telling people you're having a festival there, listing that address and soliciting vendors. Because I've seen the signs.
The sign states that we do offer gatherings. We offer weddings.
Mm-mm.
We offer funerals, celebration supplies,
How
birthday
about
parties,
fall festival with
graduations.
vendors?
So would you say the signs are not to a specific event, but generally that you have a place where people can have things?
Right. We do offer
Thank
a
you.
place where people can have.
Would you
things.
like to see the picture?
Would you like to keep it to yourself?
What
Well,
is your
it's
problem
a-
today?
It's a
Oh my God,
it's a
I'm the
good-
problem. Okay, that's wonderful.
it's a good question
Maybe you should go home.
because you said about with food trucks.
I mean, here.
Are you going and soliciting them to come out because you're having a festival
So
maybe the
I
same
can't
time?
really 100% speak on that the celebration side of things because my one of my good friends, her name is May. She is the one that usually she's a notary, and so she started doing not catering, but she started doing event coordinations for people that are having weddings. And so she could go ahead and make sure that she notarizes their marriage license and all that kind of stuff. So then she started saying, well, I've been around it so much, I can do it on my own. We have enough space. We can go ahead and get people in.
Also put ones
Now,
up.
I know that I think the fall one, she did advertise as far as for, like, we did have people coming in to have whatever, like, their knickknacks that they made and everything. I did check with the city prior to that, and there was nothing that was brought up to me that I needed to do in order to have people come over, because since it was on my private property, it was more like like I said, a celebration of the fall. But like I said, at the same time, if there's something I need to do in the future, like get a permit in order to have something that is open to the public, then I'd have no problem doing that. But that was never brought up to me as being a concern or a need prior to us doing any of this. So,
I have a question.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Or a couple. Are you typically present at these events that you're talking about?
yes, not always the whole time. Just like I wouldn't be at an event if someone booked it on their own space, on their own time, like an event. I mean, a Airbnb. Like if someone booked an Airbnb time, I wouldn't be at their ceremony or their celebration or whatever they're doing, unless I was needed for some reason. If some accident happened and I got called in by the cops and the owner of the property needed to be present. But
Go ahead.
as far as the events, I have been present. Majority of the time that it happens.
So the two events that you're talking about in November and April, those are your events? Are you at those events the entire
Yes,
time?
I was at those. I wasn't at all the other ones. The Celebration of Life, I was there some. Some of the birthday parties, I was there here and there.
I didn't see her.
You know, but
Has anyone ever approached you during the events about the noise or the cars or anything like that?
no one's ever come to me and asked politely and said, "Hey, it's a little loud." They just called the police, and the police have come over to the house. Never once has anyone come to me and said, "It's a little loud. Do you think you can lower the volume?"
He did go to the house, and there was no one there to talk to.
How is that my problem and my fault?
You said you were there, and you said they hadn't talked to you. He did go to the house that day.
I was there when
I went to the house, and I didn't see you either.
When was that?
In April.
I know what time. I mean,
I could look to see what time I took the pictures.
I was there.
It was
the
after
whole
he went, because he came
entire
and got me.
time of the event. So if you didn't see me, I was inside or I was in the bathroom. I mean, I can't tell you if when you were there why you didn't see me, but I was there. And I don't know why that seems very trivial to pull up. And as far as if there was any other time, the only time I know of, someone came to the house and walked on the property and was very aggressive, shoved a sign in my face. I reached out for the sign, and he jerked it back towards himself and said, "I thought this was already handled." And I said, "There's nothing to be handled." And then the cops ended up coming after that. So it wasn't a very pleasant visit. There was no niceness involved of, "Hey, do you think you could do this or do you think you can do that?" It was always just aggravation and just unpleasantness.
Because he's essentially living next to a party house.
And I would like you to help me understand how that is a party house.
Quite elite, counselor.
No, that's what
Yes, you're
she's.
making statements
I am
like
not.
that
She
that
actually
have no
said that.
bearing.
I did not say it was a party house, ma'am. Never once.
You said you book it for parties and events.
I didn't say it's a party
That
house.
is not a party
It amounts
house.
to the same
That
thing.
does not amount to the same thing.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because you are
I'm not even talking
out of
to you.
order.
I am not out of order.
You are out of order.
She's asking
Would you ask her again?
ask questions.
Oh my heavens!
Okay, I don't.
The only reason I said it is because. Is it okay if I talk to you?
You want to go outside and we can talk
No,
all
sir.
you
I
want.
want you to behave yourself.
You want to go outside? We can talk all you want.
No,
Mr.
sir.
President, can I recommend
Then-
that we take a
Yes.
5-minute break?
Yes, ma'am. We're gonna. Time is 6:51, and we will be back here at 7 p.m.
I'm gonna have them come back up once they're done. I mean, once our break is up.
Yeah.
They can come back up once our break is up.
Yes, ma'am. And that neighbor's charged.
It is.
He said, "Look at them."
All right, the time is now 7 o'clock, and this meeting is back in order. Ma'am, do you have anything else that you would like to say?
Mr. President, just very briefly
Oh, that's
before
right. Sorry.
we start back up, I will remind everyone that the code of conduct for our meetings applies to all of our audience members as well as our council members. No personal attacks are permitted between any council members or any audience members. There's no conversation other than that which is recognized through the chair. All comments are directed to the chair. The chair recognizes the speaker. That is the procedure that we follow. If we are unable to follow the procedure and are reminded regarding the procedure more than 3 times, then we will be escorted from the building. Does everyone understand the rules and regulations as I have listed them? Okay.
Okay. Do you have anything
I have
else?
a question for your rules and regulations, Counselor. Does this mean that we don't just speak out, we ask the president for permission to speak?
Mr. Mayor, to clarify, you would ask the chair, I have a question for the attorney,
Thank you.
and then I would respond, if the chair so chooses.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. You have anything else, ma'am?
Do I say my name again? No.
Sure. Go ahead.
Tara Caldwell. So I noticed that in the topic it says with action, and I was just wondering if what that means. Like, am I supposed to present an action that I would like, or that? Because I
No,
would like to stop
it's-
being harassed.
It's for us.
Okay, because I was wondering if there was a way that this would stop happening if we do have a gathering and there's people that are doing whatever it happens to be, if it wouldn't consistently be the cops called, and that everyone's on the same page that this is allowed. We're doing nothing wrong. We're within our rights and we're within our ordinances to act as we are, and that we could quit having this consistently be a thing.
Police Chief Rose, you have anything you would like to add to that?
No, she's correct. If there's no law violations, there's nothing we can do about it. And as long as she's not violating any ordinances, there's nothing we can do about it. But respond. If they call, if a citizen does call, we gotta go. That's our duty.
I totally
That's our
understand.
obligation. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but if we come and there's no law violations, then we do what we've done in the past, which I think is either said turn it down or nothing. Correct?
They've actually never asked us to turn it down because it's never been an issue. I mean, even the last time the cops were called, the lieutenant was up here at the Bacon Festival, and they were on the radio at the same time. And she says, I can't even hear it up here.
Right.
And, you know, they said during the last meeting that we turn it down when they come and we turn it back up when they leave, and that's not the case. We actually, like I said, we do have drone footage of some of the occasions that we've had. And so, if you know, as far as pictures being taken, we have pictures of the actual event during the main time of the event. So I can also provide that if it's required or needed to also show how many people were approximately there, where everything was located, because it's literally an aerial view of the whole entire property. So we do have tons of evidence and proof if we needed to present that we were within our rights and our ordinances and all the places that we needed to be properly. But I had a point. I don't know where it went. But anyways. What I was saying is that if it continuously being called, is there any way that there is a nuisance called to the sheriffs? If there's something that, I don't know what it's called, but if someone consistently calls about something, if it's always every single time addressed, or if it can be considered harassment.
Well, if a citizen called and they feel that something's violating the law or that something's too loud, it's their right to be able to do that. And we will respond to verify whether it is or not. And I can't say it's a nuisance because sometimes it may not be loud, and the second time it may be loud. So I wouldn't call that a nuisance. But just understand that if they call, we have to come and at least investigate it. Whether we do anything or not is based on the circumstances of what we find when we get there.
Okay. I was just curious if there was a number of times where you have gone and you investigate and it always is the same outcome. If there was anything that was a thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that because each person's opinion of what's going on is different. So I couldn't tell you that every time that we went, it was legit or it wasn't legit. So if it's not legit, like you say, we will tell you, hey, can you turn it down a little bit? Or you need to remove these cars off the sidewalk or out of the roadway or whatever. But no, I couldn't give you a solid answer on that.
Okay. And I just was going to say if anyone had any other questions for me while I was here.
May I speak, Mr. President? If we are going to allow public comment, specifically for this event, that we limit it to 2 minutes, please.
Great.
That's within your right
Yep.
as council to decide.
Mr. Laurie, you got the timer? Mr. Aaron does? Okay. Okay, anybody from the public have comment on this matter?
Yes, my name is Tim Anchor, Northwest 225. I live right across the street. And ma'am, it's not the issue of the parking. It's not the issue of the vendors. It's not the issue of the Airbnb. It's the noise. And somebody come up there, we shouldn't have to ask you to turn the noise down. That poor lady on the left of us is 90-something years old. She had to leave last time. Is that right for her to do that?
Aaron, will you please pause the time for a moment? Just as a reminder, all comments are directed toward the chair, so we're not going to speak directly to the audience
Well,
members.
Just
direct
directing
your
it.
comments
It's
to
her
the chair,
deal.
please.
But there has to be some kind of noise ordinance for this. It ain't the amount of people. It's the noise ordinance. This is the issue. It is the noise. It ain't the people. It's not the Airbnb. It is the noise and only the noise. There has to be something done about this. Some fines or something if it keeps happening. It's not right. It's not right.
Let him
That's all I have
finish.
to say.
Council, you have questions or anything? Ms. Meredith?
Nope.
Okay. D?
Quick question for the chief. Is there anything out that would measure the noise ordinance at that specific residence, that whomever is there and having whatever it is that they're having, that they can look at and go by and see whether or not the noise that they're making is too much, or, to kind of help maybe alleviate some of this?
There is a sound measuring device. The noise have to be over 50 decibels, and it has to be continuous for 15 minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kirsten.
That's my recollection. Don't quote me on that because I'm not looking at it,
And that's something that can be purchased by the homeowner to place maybe in the yard or somewhere, so that they kind of are aware. That way they can tone it down if they see that it's getting too loud for the area.
Yeah, the homeowner can purchase that as well as we can too. If it continues to be a problem, we could simply order one, and if we go over and we measure it and it's 15 minutes, I think it's 15 minutes. I'm like Kirsten, don't quote me on it, but I think it's 50 decibels for over 15 minutes before you can take some action.
Okay, so that means an officer would have to, once called, go and sit in the area for 15 minutes and measure.
And measure the sound. But if it
breaks, takes them out of.
It takes them out of service. But if it breaks that barrier anytime before that 15 minutes is up, you got to start all over.
Okay. If it breaks it, but it's not sustained, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Blue, I do have one question for Miss Caldwell, your daughter. So I have a question for you. So you've been speaking a lot, so I'll talk with you. Come up to the podium. Okay, so you said that you're not there all the time.
Not for when people book through Airbnb and they choose to have something there. I don't interfere with any guest. Now, when I'm personally, like when we're doing a gathering of some sort, I'm usually there because I help, and I'm helping my friend set up for whatever she's got going on. She's got, depending on what it is. Like when it was my mom's celebration of life, I was there because it was my stepdad, and we, you know, it was family. So it's usually something that I'm there if it's something outside of the Airbnbs.
Okay, so if you're not there, who's in charge? Who's the person there that if something happens, that they go to that person to handle the situation?
Well, I would assume it'd be like if anyone was renting a house like long term, if they did something, the owner would be called or notified.
I'm sorry. I'm talking
sure.
about when you're renting the venue.
I'm not really ever renting the venue as far as it's my own event. I mean, I'm not charging myself for anything.
No. Not what I'm just saying is, if you had said earlier that you're not always at the events, so if somebody's doing a graduation party there, my interpretation, you have like a wedding venue or something like that people do. So my question is if you're not there at the event that somebody is having a party at, is there somebody, a contact person, that if there's an emergency, is there somebody there they go to?
Oh, absolutely. I would be there. I literally live 2 seconds away from the house. I live right around the corner across from the new development. So if there's anything, like let's say the water heater went out and my guests didn't have hot water, they contact me through the message board and they say, hey, we don't have any hot water. What's going on? The AC, like during the summer, when it was the winter, it's a split unit in there.
Yeah.
And
No, I was just talking about the event. I'm not worried about the Airbnb.
I'm just saying that in general, if there's ever a problem or anything that happens, or if there's an emergency, I'm contacted and I'm there right away. It takes me a minute to get in my car and drive to there.
Okay.
So I'm always available if needed for anything.
Okay. All right. Nobody else has any questions?
I did want to address the chair for 1 second. In regards to what Tim said, as far as the noise and everything, like I said, no one's ever come to me and he says, well, you should just, like, how am I supposed to know if it's too loud for you if you don't tell me it's annoying you or it's too loud for you? Besides, then of course calling the police. But if no one's ever come to me and said, this is too much or this is too loud, I've never, I can't read your mind.
Okay. All right. We understand. Thank you. So we're just going to
Next item.
see how it goes. All right. Item B, Ms. Ballou.
Mr. President, this is Resolution 2025-56, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Florida, establishing authorization for the City of Williston to approve purchase of lift station pumps from CPE for continued service and providing an effective date. This is Logistics Director Jason Lee,
I don't know who put that on the council agenda for director, but I'll accept it. So I have with me tonight, I have actually Thomas Shelley. He's the provider of these pumps. They are sole source. So we've had a bit of an issue when it comes to information on our lift stations. They are old and undocumented when it comes to as-builts, which allow us to determine our duty points and everything for these stations, which in turn allow us to determine what pumps go in there to do the job effectively. So we've been slacking a little bit, I would say, in trying to get it up to standards. Recently, they have been kind enough to come out and go through each of the lift stations with us and help determine what pumps are what. I'd like to point out, too, that these pumps are about half the price of what we were paying. We were paying originally around $5,000 per the smallest pump. And the councilman, Michael Cox, can testify that over in Woodfield, they were burning through them around every 4 months. The alarm was going off constantly, and it was costing $5,000 every 4 months to go out there. On top of that, our crew workers were going out there every weekend to every other weekend, doing overtime, trying to unclog them and derag them. Thomas and his team came in, they provide us with a pump, and we haven't had to touch that lift station in almost 2 years. So, we are looking to purchase all these pumps for the lift stations across the board to get them to where they should be for right now, to get it to where they have 2 pumps in each station, along with additional backups in case if anything goes wrong. And, Thomas, if you'd like to come up and go over any of this with the council.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Thomas Shelley with Coastal Pump. Your lift stations are kind of like the heart of your wastewater system. Everybody's houses flows to a lift station, and then from there it goes to your wastewater plant. Well, if you don't have the proper pumps in your lift stations, you'll constantly be burning pumps up, having electrical failures, and all kinds of things that you really don't want to have in your system. Some of the pumps we are proposing, or that I'm proposing to them, are kind of like the ones that we put in Whitfield. The ones that you currently have in your system, they're typically non-clogs or vortex. What we're proposing is what we put in Whitfield, which is our chopper pump. It takes debris, it will pass smaller solids, but will also, your bigger pieces will chop it up into smaller pieces and pass it down the line. Your pumps that you have in your system now do not have that capability. They are, when they see a rag that's big, they'll clog up, and that's what they were constantly getting called for. So these new style of pumps, they've been out for about 10 years now. They've really helped the ragging situations in cities. So we have references across the board of other municipalities that currently use them, and they're absolutely loving them.
So, the question. What was the cost? Or maybe I missed that, of all the pumps.
It is shown on one of your diagrams. If you scroll down,
I think it's page 15.
I can see the screen from there. Scroll down a little bit more. No, I think it's one
It's down
I
farther. 15, I believe it is. There it
Yep,
is.
right there. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, I think it has listed a little bit more.
165.
152. We have the do not exceed to be 165.
Yeah,
I would like to point out that the most expensive item on there is for Acre Lift Station, but it also goes to Russell Lift Station and the Hospital Lift Station. That is a skid. It comes with a motor and a specialized pump, which the original pumps we were getting for that station were around $15,000, and that was just for the pump, not the motor included. We were having to get that separately. So in total, $16,000, $17,000. Now we can get them for $10,000. Comes in on a skid, unbolt the old one, bolt in the new one to the floor, easy installation. So that's why that one is the most expensive item on there, which is, I believe, $40,000 because we are asking for 4 of them.
And this would take care of all the lift station pumps.
Yes.
So next question.
Yes.
Where's the money coming
For that,
from?
I would like to direct it to our lovely city manager, Sue.
I'm here. I went over this with Stephen Bloom a few days ago. He advised that we the budget was $459,000 in contingency. Currently, we still have about half of that available, so roughly 200 and something thousand. So that 165 would have to come out of that 200 and something thousand, or at least that's what he advised he would have it come out of.
Can you repeat that? Because I didn't understand.
Yeah, can you repeat that? Maybe Aaron can turn that up just a little bit more.
Yep, absolutely. So Stephen said that we have about 459,000 in contingency. That's what he budgeted. There is about half of that left right now. So roughly 200 and something thousand, whatever that works out to, 230,000 roughly. And this 165 would have to come out of that 230,000. At least that's what he would recommend. That's what it would come out of.
Yes, sir. Please.
Could you please tell me what a rag is? I'm assuming you're not talking about someone flushed a wash rag down there and this thing will chop up a wash rag, right?
It will.
That is exactly what you were talking about?
So what we classify rags is human hair, Swiffer sweepers, baby wipes, grease, everything you put down your drain that you don't want in your house. That's what they go through your collection system, and they collectively, with the grease, make what we call a big ball, and we just call them balls of rags.
Well, that's fine. I just
So it's a lot of different things mixed into one.
nomenclature was just, I'm just trying to think, how do we get so much cloth in there?
It's the baby wipes, the diapers, the Swiffer sweepers, all. run
Thank you
through the
very
system.
much.
Ms. Meredith?
Oh, thank you. I have a question for, I guess, Jason. Given that we're only in April and now we're down in our contingency fund, I'm not great at math, but not much left. What can we anticipate happening before the next fiscal year that we might be really in trouble if we don't have this money? Not saying this isn't well spent money, but just.
So we already have a budget for pumps. We would operate within that budget. This exceeds that normal, what we call operations and maintenance budget, by quite a bit. You're going to see more pumps, but they would come, again, out of that normal budgeted sector. This is really to do with the condition and the degradation of those 21 lift stations. Some of you have gone on tours with us and seen the horrific condition that most of these lift stations are in. I have a quote to redo one lift station at Homestead Park, to reline it, redo the paneling, it's $76,000. So this is a Band-Aid. This is similar to what we experienced earlier in December of this previous year with Fugit, the master lift station, when Terry was here and had to authorize trucks to come in, Gainesville to come in, Newberry to come in, City of Marion County came in. We had to rent the Vector truck. That Vector truck for 1 month was $14,000. We can't spill. When we spill, DEP gets very, very upset. When we went through all the lift stations after December, we began to do a forensic audit, and we looked at every station. How many pumps do they take? What models? Which stations are duplicated? If one goes down and it has a spare pump, what are the life expectancies of those pumps? So we're trying to do better technology, as Jason mentioned, and then we're also trying to have contingencies in regards to, we don't want to be in a position where we have to wait 3 days and have a truck coming to a lift station, sucking it up every few hours and transporting it to the plant because we don't have a pump that's functional that can go in that space. So this 165 is a necessity. It's not a want. There's no bells and whistles here. This isn't SCADA. This is normal operation, and it's just to do with how old our stations are. I remind you that we're in an SRF study, a state revolving fund study for facilities on our waste system. They've already gone through and done a lot of that. They should be done here in probably about another 4 months. They're going to come back to the council with recommendations to address the most severe issues. They're going to give you a price tag. That's through Wright Pierce. And then we were going to have to go to the state and consider getting a loan to do as the project I mentioned at Homestead, $76,000, reline that, fix the containment, fix the control panels, upgrade the pumps. So this is a Band-Aid. To answer your question, absolutely we could come back and say we have another problem that we need to address. But I don't know how to get around this because the alternative is that we tell the state we can't manage our wastewater system.
I appreciate that, and maybe I'll clarify my question in a different, or present my question in a different way. Historically, how often do we have big ticket items like this? How frequently do they come along? So I guess I'm trying to figure out if how often this is likely to happen. I'm not talking. I understand everything you said, and I agree 100%. I'm just asking.
Historically, to answer your question in particular, I would say that the approach was to nickel and dime, is to do one pump at a time. And because those purchases were under a certain limit, a large amount was spent akin to this, but it was done within the bounds of the purchasing agreement. We wanted to do it in this manner because there's a time issue here, and so we need a bunch of them. And instead of stringing it along, we also need council and the citizens to recognize and see what state we're in. And so when the SRF comes up, why that is going to be a critical loan to upgrade our infrastructure, which, we have mains and things that are 50, 60 years old. Some of these stations are 50, 60, 70 years old. So, I mean, that's the reason why we switched strategies here. Was after Fugit, we, by Terry's order, needed to do a forensic audit, and we came back and this, if bare minimum, this is what we should have on hand so that a spill's not possible, so that we have a spare pump regardless of whether 1 or 2 pumps go down in a particular station.
Mr. Everett?
Have we graded them, maybe 1 through 5, to see which ones are the worst? And like, can we do part of them and not all of them at once?
I'll let Walt answer that because that's part of the SRF study.
While you're talking about the FRS study, my next question, because I had 2, was if we buy them now and the FRS grant comes through for the state revolving loan, what happens if we've already paid for them?
I'll answer that one first. A lot of the pumps that we're moving to for chopper pumps, we're upgrading certain stations with the electric department into 3-phase. So all these stations, as they're redesigned on our designs and standards, are going to 3-phase. So we're trying to get them as close to what Country Lane Estates looks like, or the new Townhomes lift station is going to look like. So that's why another reason why we're upgrading the technology, and in doing so, we actually saved money, as Jason mentioned. So that's a positive. The second part of that would be the idea that if we have a brand new pump in a package, we have other systems that we're integrated with through Florida Rural Water, and we would then sell those pumps, if they were unusable but new, to those other municipalities that are looking for those same pumps. And we've already had discussions with them on that, and SRF has those resources to say, hey, this is what the City of Williston has to offer. Is anybody interested in purchasing it? And we would sell the ones that we could not integrate into our technology and retrieve those funds.
But once we've done the study, and we tell FRS what we need, and we've already bought them, I don't believe they'll pay for them.
Well, no, they're not going to pay for these pumps. No, ma'am.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Absolutely not. No,
then,
SRF is going to be specifically to redesign and upgrade stations. You can't purchase materials previously.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely
Why don't
not.
we wait till the study's done? That's why I'm asking the question.
Well, if we could wait, I would love that. But the problem is that there's a couple stations tonight that if one pump goes down, that's all they're running on, and I have
Okay.
nothing to put in their place.
That's kind of what I'm asking for in the first question.
So,
Jonathan's got it.
Mr. Bishop?
At the end of the day, it's pretty simple. Spend the money now or spend more later. There's a lot of what ifs back and forth.
But I don't really have it now. I mean, I do,
But we-
but
but we
it takes
don't
it
have-
away
but-
from everything else out of contingency.
Absolutely, and I agree, but you don't have more later either, so.
FRS could pay for it.
Okay, Walt, I go with Wright Pierce, and I'll add to that. We have a ranking and list of the lift stations and,
Right.
an assessment of them, and you have about 9 or 10 of the 22 that are, I would say, critical. Your typical lift station that you have, excluding Fugate, because that's kind of your master, they're typically duplex pump stations, so they have 2 pumps. They're designed to work normally with 1 pump running, but then you cycle amongst your pumps so you get even wear.
Right.
But you do have a second pump for surges, high flows that are maybe beyond what was anticipated. Your worst pump stations, you're down to 1 pump running. That is not the way they're designed. That's not the way they're permitted to be operated on. 1 pump is not meeting any of the design criteria whatsoever. So these purchases will get you up to where you should be now, and then gives you backup and support when things go wrong. That's just for today's flows, today's development. The SRF study is going to look at stations that are undersized. It's going to look at where growth is happening and then what those stations need to be for the future. So that's looking at a little bit different. What you've got now is maintaining today. The FRS is, okay, what do we need tomorrow?
An upgrade and a larger.
And
larger
it could be some of these pumps could be used on another station. They're all pretty unique, but you could possibly still use them. If we upgrade a lift station, for example, the pumps that you're purchasing today possibly could be used somewhere else. You really have to look at the pump curves, the head, and all the things that go with it. They're pretty unique.
Right.
But this is for getting you to operate today.
Steven's not on the phone, is he?
I have a question, and this is probably for Donald. How much over what you've already budgeted for pumps are we? Do you know the number?
So we have roughly 20 to 30,000 left in our O&M budget for the year. That's why we couldn't go and spend 165. Again, historically, previous utility administrations, they would just, at the end of the year say, we were 480% higher than what we were budgeted, and you guys would get that at an end of the year report. We don't feel that that's the appropriate way to proceed. So we just need you guys to understand that this is additional cost. You can't budget for these things because, like I said, the degradation of the pumps has been sped up by growth. That's been a big part of it. Walt can speak about that. I mean, you have, a lot of infill. Laura can speak to that, where a lot of the permits have been neighborhoods that haven't been built. It's just empty lots that have been filled in. And so that has a cascading effect over time on those systems.
In addition to growth, there is just a degradation of the collection system, which is also part of the FRS study. And looking at it, you have, I&I that call it inflow and infiltration. As the system ages, more clean water, groundwater, rainwater gets into the system. Illegal connections, downspouts that get in there that happen over time just increase flow and inundate pump stations and things like that. So it's some growth, your infill, but also an aging system.
So are you looking for the full 165, or you're looking for that to match up to the 165, which would be give us about $100,000 left in contingency?
No, I need to remain the budget that I have to go from May to September 30th. That's just my normal operations and maintenance.
Okay.
This I need to order tomorrow. I mean, because we're weeks out on some of these things, and there's a couple of stations. If something were to happen tomorrow, we're back to who are we calling and how much money are we spending. If you guys consider the bypass, the pumps that were purchased, if you consider the other work that was involved, the renting of the Vector truck and all that, I believe we're up to almost $220-some thousand on Fugit. That was a completely unexpected cost. Nobody could have budgeted for that because we didn't know that was going to fail to that capacity. I mean, we had 3 pumps up running when we did the budget last year, went down to 2, went down to 1, and literally the last two went down within weeks of each other. So, and then the hurricanes and the storms had a lot to do with that because there was an electrical issue at the same time there. So, again, this is not something that you can plan for, and if we don't move forward with this tonight, and there's another catastrophe to John's point, you're going to end up spending, on one of these stations, you could end up spending the 165. I mean, that's what you're talking about, because you didn't address the issue with a secondary pump when the emergency happened. I also want to point out that if Jamie Hope was here from Florida Rural Water, he's talked about this in the apprenticeship classes and the focus on change that they host throughout the state. DEP at any time can say, look, we've had enough of your spills, and they can levy a fine. Those fines can exist between $5,000, $25,000, $75,000. It depends on the spill and the assessment that they make. They can even order specific cleanup to their level of what they establish as a proper cleanup. So this can get rather expensive if you put sewage in places that it's not designed to go.
And you said that this is just a Band-Aid. When you say it's just a Band-Aid, if we're spending $165,000 for pumps, why is it a Band-Aid? And I know we're not looking
because
at
I don't
the
have
future,
the millions. Right.
But
because to fix it properly, and Walt can speak to this, we're probably looking at closer to 10 to 12 million. I mean, like I said, Fugit alone, I think that we have estimated at $3.4 million to rebuild it to the standard that it should be. So, I mean, that's one station. We have 21. So some are more expensive, some are, a little bit cheaper. The CDBG that we have out on Lift Station 4 on Northeast 9th Circle that will be starting hopefully this fall, that station right there is a $500,000 rebuild. So these, I mean, if we can find that kind of money, I'll fix them the right way. But this is the Band-Aid. That's why I'm referring to it that way.
Okay, and that's what I want to know. Why
Yes,
are we
ma'am.
spending all this money if it's just a Band-Aid? But thank you.
If I can add to that, I mean, you're calling it a Band-Aid. This is normal maintenance and operational needs. It's things that need to be done. I mean, yeah, it's a Band-Aid that it is maintaining the system as it is, but this is part of normal maintenance that has to be done. Should have been done. A lot of funding reasons, a lot of reasons for that. It needs to be done, and you need to have that. you need to have that capability to maintain the system as it is.
So,
and I do want to clarify just one thing, because under item G, I'm going to talk about some other funding opportunities that are out there that the city's pursuing, and it does touch on some lift stations also. So we are looking for other things for the beyond the O&M type things, but I'll be talking about that shortly.
so if the council gives their blessing and all that, what's the time frame of getting these all changed out amongst all the other projects that we got going?
So to clarify, I won't change all of them out. Probably 12 of these pumps are the spare. So they're in inventory, because inventory is depleted in many cases. That's correct. Yes, ma'am. So yes, there are many stations that need replacements, and there's many stations that are operating on one pump that we will get up to 2, where possible. I think there's 2 stations we can't put 2 pumps in, as Walt mentioned. It's just the infrastructure's gone. It's rotted to pieces. We can only do 1 pump. So in that case, we have 2 pumps sitting in inventory. So, but yeah, about 12 or 15 of these are going in a storage and in inventory, and then the rest will be installed. As to the time, we could have them, once they get in here, we could have them installed in less than a month. So the install is really not difficult. We have the staff and the crew and the expertise for that part.
So let me ask this question. So I know you have extras that are up there, but is each one of those that needs a pump? Are we going to put a pump in place?
So how we
then have extras?
So how we figured that out is we're going to get them all back up to where they should be as much as they can. And then let's say there's 5 stations that take a barn-style pump, or what we call a rail pump is another type of pump. Well, if there's 5 stations and they each have 2 places, that's 10 pumps potentially that we have operating. So we took that and we said we should have 4 spares, right? So that's how we determined that. We said if multiple stations have 1 pump go down, we need to get them back up to 2 pumps. So we basically did less than half of how many utilize that pump, and then understanding how many we would need if a couple of them failed, which is definitely a possibility. There's one particular pump, I think it's in 3 stations. He mentioned it. It's in Acre, in Russell, and in the hospital. So we're putting all those back to 2, and then I think we're asking for 2 spares. If 2 of them had a problem, they would be back to the 2 pumps. So that's how we kind of went through and looked at that. The ones that were duplicated, we're not asking for a spare for each one. We're only asking for spare for, let's say, 50% or less collectively.
I see 7 pumps on, is that 7? On one particular one.
So
Right.
that is for Northeast 9th Street, Northwest 9th Circle, Woodfield, and and another lift station. That goes to a total of 4 different lift stations, that type of pump.
So you have 7 pumps. A couple of those stations need a pump, and so that would probably give you 2 spares for 4 stations.
I would like to hear what other funding that Mr. Walt was going to talk about. That was on G. I mean, if we're going to make a decision on $152,000.
You want to go to G now?
Well, I would like to see what the other funding
I'm just
before I
asking.
make a decision.
I'm just clarifying.
As part of item E, I was going to also give you an update, which is CDBG issue that Laura was bringing up. I was going to then give a synopsis and overview of the various grants that we have been pursuing or have won or are pending. So I, if you don't mind, I'll kind of run through it, some of it maybe a little bit, but
Is it related to this?
well, it's grants that are available to the city, and I think it's a good status of what's going on right now.
But we can kind of use it towards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. President, may I make a suggestion? How about we table this till the end, so that we don't get confused? And then you'll have all your information at the end to make a decision.
Okay, we can do it.
Saying recess.
Pizza is here, if you're interested in taking a break now, or whether you wanted to wait till 8 o'clock.
What do you want to do?
8 o'clock. He's like, take a break. I'd say wait. I don't care.
All right, we're
8
back
o'clock.
at, it is 7:39, and
8 o'clock.
Did we table it? Do we have to make a motion to table this to the end of the meeting?
Yeah, if you're gonna table this item until the end of the meeting, then you'll need a motion to do that. If you're just gonna take a break and come back to this, then we can just recess.
I thought we were
Just
just take a break and come back.
It's up to you all.
We'll do that.
Okay.
All right, so we're recessing.
7:40. So we're gonna adjourn till 8.
The last time.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I don't.